Everyone is talking about the AI revolution, right? But behind all the incredible software, there are companies building the actual physical hardware that makes it all possible. It's kind of like a new gold rush, and some folks are getting rich selling the picks and shovels. Today, we're going to look at one of the biggest shovel sellers out there, Micron Technology. Let's dive into how they're powering this whole thing, starting with one number that, well, it kind of tells the whole story.
And when I say the whole story, I mean this. $13.64 billion. That's what Micron pulled in for revenue in a single quarter, just their first fiscal quarter of 2026. I mean, that is just a staggering number, and it's a huge signal that something fundamental is shifting in the tech world.
But this isn't some lucky one-time fluke. Just look at the trajectory here. We're not talking about just one good quarter, we're talking about absolutely explosive growth. That's a 57% jump from the exact same time last year. This is not a ripple, folks. This is a full-blown tidal wave.
So where in the world does a record-breaking $13.5 billion in revenue actually come from? Well, the answer shows how this one single powerful force is completely reshaping every single corner of the tech industry.
Okay, so a massive chunk, almost 40%, is from cloud memory. No big surprise there. But look at the rest of it. Mobile and client, core data center, even automotive. The demand is literally everywhere, from the giant server farms that run the cloud, all the way down to the phone in your hand and the car in your garage. And here's the kicker. This success isn't just from one hit product. It is a company-wide surge. Every single one of their divisions, from data centers to cars, hit an all-time revenue record. And why? Because they all now depend on the exact same thing. And yeah, you guessed it. That thing is artificial intelligence. The absolutely insatiable demand for AI processing is completely upending the market for what we used to think of as just a simple commodity, computer memory.
I love this quote from Micron CEO because it just nails the shift that's happening. Memory isn't just another component you slot into a motherboard anymore. It's a strategic asset. You can have the most powerful AI chip on the planet, but if you can't feed it data fast enough with high-speed memory, it's basically just a very expensive paperweight.
So let's meet the undisputed star of this whole show, high bandwidth memory, or HBM. The easiest way to think about it is like a skyscraper. Instead of spreading memory chips out, you stack them vertically, creating this super dense, super fast connection. It's the data superhighway that these massive AI models absolutely need to function.
And because it's so critical, the market for HBM is just exploding. We're talking around $35 billion in 2025, rocketing up to a projected $100 billion just 3 years later. And get this, that $100 billion forecast, it's now expected to happen 2 years ahead of schedule. The demand is accelerating faster than anyone, and I mean anyone, predicted.
To really put that into perspective for you, this one single specialized type of memory, HBM, is projected to be a bigger market in 2028 than the entire market for regular computer memory was back in 2024. That is just how massive this shift is.
Okay, so you might be thinking, this is all just happening in some giant, faceless data center somewhere, right? Well, this AI-driven memory boom is actually trickling down and changing the tech we all use every single day.
Of course, it all starts here, in the data center. The demand for new servers to train and run AI is just surging. It's now expected to grow in the high teens % range, which, trust me, is a huge jump from what people were forecasting just a little while ago.
But then it comes right to our desks. The rise of these new AI PCs, plus the fact that support for Windows 10 is ending, is kicking off a massive new upgrade cycle for computers. Your next laptop is going to have specialized hardware just for AI, and that means it's going to need more and faster memory. We're seeing the same thing happening right in our pockets. Just think about all the new AI features on your phone. Well, that stuff needs a ton of memory to run. Almost 60% of high-end phones now have 12 gigs of memory or more. That is more than double what it was just 1 year ago. Insane.
And finally, it's hitting the road. All those advanced driver assistance systems and the big dream of fully self-driving cars, they have to process just unbelievable amounts of sensor data in real time. And you guessed it, that requires a ton of memory. Micron has already locked in billions of dollars in deals to supply it for these next-gen cars.
So we've got this incredible explosion in demand coming from all sides. Sounds great for Micron, right? Well, it creates a massive problem. How on earth do you actually make enough of this stuff? And that brings us to the real conflict in this whole story.
You've got these two forces colliding. On one side, you have this relentless, soaring AI demand, and on the other, you have the hard, physical reality of manufacturing.
The industry literally cannot build factories fast enough to keep up, and the official forecast is that supply will be, quote, substantially short of demand for the foreseeable future.
And the core of that problem, the real bottleneck, is HBM itself. See, to make just one of these HBM chips, you use up 3 times the amount of precious silicon wafer space as a standard memory chip. And as the technology gets better, that ratio actually gets worse. It's a total resource hog, and you can't just flip a switch and build more factories. These things take years. So what's Micron's answer to the supply crisis? Well, when you have a problem this big, you throw a truly massive amount of money at it. They are planning to spend $20 billion in fiscal 2026 alone just to try and build more production capacity.
And they are spending that money all over the world. We're talking about a global manufacturing blitz. They're accelerating the timelines for new factories in Idaho, breaking ground in New York, and expanding their operations in Japan and Singapore. It is an all-out race to build.
All right, so let's just pull back for a second and look at the big picture here. This isn't really a story about one company having a great quarter. It's about the actual foundation of our entire technological future being built right now. So, Micron's game plan is pretty straightforward. First, they need to stay on the cutting edge of the technology. Second, they have to execute flawlessly on manufacturing. Third, expand their global capacity as fast as humanly possible. And if they can do all that, they position themselves as a company that is essential for enabling the entire future of AI.
At the end of the day, this isn't about selling little computer chips anymore. Companies like Micron are now building the fundamental infrastructure, the digital roads, the bridges, the power plants, for the entire next generation of the global economy.
Which really leaves us with a fascinating question to chew on. We know the future is going to run on AI, but the race to build the physical foundation for that future, well, it's just getting started. It's going to take years of effort and hundreds of billions of dollars. The big question is, who's ultimately going to win that race, and what's the final cost going to be?